On this episode, we smoke Esteban Carreras with Sean from Esteban Carreras. Welcome to Burnline Podcast. Burnline Podcast. The burn line on a well-crafted cigar is straight and sharp as a razor, much like our wit and wisdom. And welcome to Burnline Podcast. Coming to you not live from the Hot Box, the smoky back room where deers are struck and fortunes are made, adjacent to the Blanco Lounge, nestled among the complex of rooms that comprises Union Cigar, Hanover, Pennsylvania, USA. I'm your host, Johnny Midas.
Johnny Midas, I think you're the funniest when you misspeak.
I never misspeak.
You just said
a wizard always speaks exactly what he intended.
The back room where deers are struck.
No, that's out front on the road. And corn-fed deer up here in Pennsylvania, let me tell you something.
Your car would survive it.
My car would survive it.
Yeah, that's awesome. We have a
The
guest.
beast. We have a guest today. Wow. We are smoking Esteban Carreras with the man from Esteban himself. Sean, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm ecstatic to be here.
I can tell by the tone of your voice.
Practiced.
Practice. All right, we just want to get that mic a little closer. Go ahead and shove it
Is
right
this
down
okay?
your throat. Yeah, that's okay.
We're
That's
good?
better. We're good. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that'll work. Well, welcome. We're glad to have you on the show and excited to be smoking a round table of Esteban cigars today. How was the event?
The event went. Nick is shaking his head in multiple different. He looks like a bobblehead right now.
It
I'll
went?
Take that as a good.
The event went?
Scale 1 to 10. 1 to 10.
How did it go for you?
Nick said 9.5.
Nick said 9.5.
Nick said
All right.
9.5.
That
That was a good event.
That's what I heard.
More people. It would have been a 10.
Well, all right.
There we go.
Anyway, so we've got some Carrera cigars, and I think what we'll do is we'll go around and talk about the cigar we're going to smoke, or name the cigar we're going to smoke, and then as we kind of let those toast, maybe you can talk about Esteban Carreras as a company, a little bit of history there or whatever, and then we can talk about the cigars we're smoking. How does that sound?
Yeah, that'd be good.
All right, good deal. And we've got I've got my English breakfast tea, and Nick, you've got your iced frappe mocha soy latte thing.
Insert dab.
And you've got black coffee.
Just keeping it black.
All right, good deal. We're just gonna speak directly. Yeah,
right.
There we go. Uh-huh. Good deal. All right, so I'm Johnny Midas. This is Nick the Brick and Sean Quay, and we are smoking Esteban Carreras cigars today. I am smoking the 10 Años, and this is a box-pressed Robusto, and I'm going to go with 50 by 6.
Dude, it's slim. It's like flat pressed.
It is. It's that flat oval press.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm guessing on the size. I don't know it for sure, but that's what it looks like to me.
It's if only we had a good resource here to tell us.
No, it's really too bad we don't have anybody in the room that knows anything about these cigars.
You should pull out your fucking phone.
Yeah. It's too bad we don't have a rep here or something.
Do your phone measurement thing again.
Yeah, I should do that.
Yeah, see that, and then I'll tell you if you're right.
Yeah.
Do the phone measurement thing, and I'll tell you if you're right.
Yeah, phone measurement thing.
Phone
Yeah,
measurement
you would
thing,
not believe
and
how
then you
many
know if
quarrels
you're
we've-
right or not because you have a certain resource.
Yeah, we're
That resource is me.
I'm gonna figure this shit out. All right. Move iPhone to start. Okay, I'm moving it. Ooh, that can't be right. It says 4.5. It's bigger than 4.5. Well, what do you think? What is it?
You tell me. What do you think?
It says
What's
4.5.
the verdict?
It's not 4.5. That's a 5.
That's what she said. Sorry. I tried so hard. It's 5 inches.
Look, I
Which
nailed
is
it.
enough.
I nailed it. Exactly 5 inches.
52.
52 box press. Yeah, it looks smaller than that, but you know how they do that with the box press. Like the foot, when it expands from the heat, it will. That's the gauge it'll turn into. Right. And Nick, what are you smoking today?
I'm going to be having the brand new Esteban Carreras Devil's Hand Dark Corojo limited edition Maduro
Oh, nice.
in the Toro size.
Somebody needs to get with branding and find out if they can maybe put less words in that, because I'm pretty sure, what was that, 17 words in that cigar?
Less words, maybe more. I don't know, man.
But it sounds awesome and it looks cool. That is good looking. What is that? Toro
Yeah,
Plus?
probably
Maybe?
652,
Is it?
if I had to guess.
Yeah, it looks like a 7.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll talk about this one. Obviously, they have the OG taken from the Devil's Hand, which is like a little over a year old at this point.
Right.
And then this is the newest release within, and Sean will correct me if I'm wrong, but an extra fermented aged Maduro wrapper. And we love fermentation on Burn Line.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I'm fermenting right now.
And on this 10 Años, this is a Maduro, and this is kind of your classic, like, Maduro aged, but it has not been, like, forced to look super dark. Like, this is
what's a wrapper on that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, this. Yeah, what I like about this is, like, that is a great, if you're trying to teach somebody, this is what, like an aged Maduro wrapper should look like.
Yeah.
Unless they're trying to make it look darker.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people confuse the aging process with the coloring, So like an oscuro, that's a color. A Maduro, that's an aging process.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to go grab like an underground Maduro,
Yeah.
like other San Andreas cigars, Romeo San Andreas, because that is, dude, that's, I would say, that's a natural wrapper, if I had to guess. This is a very light.
Well, this part of the leaf, for sure. Like, as you see where it's spun around here, that's more of like the tone I would expect, I think, by the foot. So.
Jeez, man. Sean, what are you going to have?
Well, I'm glad you asked. To flash back to when we were talking about our drinks, the reason I have a black coffee is because I'm smoking the Covenant. Now, what's great with the Covenant that I like is its flavor profile, its body is very different to what you typically would get, the notes you typically would get out of a Nicaraguan cigar. With the Covenant, there are more notes similar to that of dark chocolate, black coffee in the first third there. You get a mild pepper in the back to really add complexity to the smoke. And as the cigar progresses, almost distinctly from first third to second third, you're going to get more of that milk chocolatiness, and it's going to start mellowing out a bit. It's not going to be as rich and robust as that first third was, but it pairs so nicely with a nice black coffee.
Awesome. So that is the Covenant. That is a soft box pressed Toro. And it is time for us to clip our cigars. I am clipping my cigar with my Perdomo single side double guillotine. And Nick has got his Drew, same double guillotine with a backstop. And Sean, what are you clipping with today?
I'm clipping with my beautiful Zycar Deep V.
All right. And as always, we remind you to clip that cigar with authority. No limp-wristed clipping allowed. That will get you a nice clean cut for better cigar enjoyment. And we're going to go ahead and tap the tobacco off of the head of our cigar after clipping that. And while we are doing that, I have some listener communication. And if you would like to communicate with Burnline Podcast, you can drop us a line at burnlinepodcast@gmail.com. And let's see. It looks like we've got one email. This email is from Angel.
No.
Nick definitely sounds like a gringo when pronouncing Spanish words.
Oh, man.
Thank you, Angel, for that valuable input.
This is just...
And if you would like to haze Nick, send us a line, burnlinepodcast@gmail.com. Or if you have questions, comments, cigars you'd like us to smoke, we will take a look at that. And if we like it, we'll pay attention. And if we don't, we won't. If you don't want us to read your read your email on air, please let us know in the email, preferably up at the top so I don't get, like down to the bottom while reading it and realize I wasn't supposed to.
You're not going to let me respond to that?
No, I think it was pretty straightforward. I mean, he's not wrong.
I don't get can I send an email in now and
No.
I think Angel sounds like a...
No.
I can't do that?
No.
That's how you get canceled.
Yeah, definitely.
Angel...
What do you have to say to Angel?
Angel
Nick
sent two
Ulrich?
emails 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, one email 2 weeks in a row. Total of 2.
Yep, total of 2 emails. The first one was about, and the second one was about me, apparently. The first one was about a little technique that we do here in the back room.
Yeah, the hand job that we do. In the
Yeah,
back room.
check this out.
Yeah.
Angel, this is great because you're still a fan and you're listening to the podcast. The fact that you know that I sound like a gringo means that you're tuning in every week. And that's awesome, man. Thank you for that.
Why don't you invite him on?
No, absolutely not. Maybe one day.
Angel, Nick says, chupa mi penga. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get these cigars lit. And I am using my Vertigo Quad Flame Launch the Fucking Satellite into Space Quad Torch. Nick, you've got your super fancy 3-flame flat flame.
DBL Francisco Almonte.
Yes, and that was a gift from the man himself, was it not? Yes, awesome.
And I have a Vertigo Tri-Flame.
All right, so we are going to go ahead and toast these cigars up. And as usual, we remind you to gently toast the cigar. Don't blast it into space.
Toasted, not roasted. Toasted, not roasted. Toasted, not roasted.
It's toasted. I get it.
Yeah, I think we talk about this almost every podcast, but it's hard because I've got to cut the audio out. I can't have fucking 30 seconds of dead air.
You don't want to do toasted, not roasted for 30 seconds?
Yeah, definitely not.
Last time you talked through it. You talked through the entire toast.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that was impressive.
But yeah, 30 seconds is actually a very fast light, I think.
Yeah, I think we're conscientious of not. I remember the first couple episodes that I came on here, and I was using cedar, and you were making so much fun of me because it was taking me 4 or 5 minutes to get my cigar lit.
Building a fucking campfire over
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Nick the caveman.
But it's that's what it takes sometimes to, like you said, like we talk about, it's the ritual.
Right. Yeah, and like we mentioned, the first couple of puffs are amazing if you toast your cigar, slowly. But you jam that fucking whatever 1400 degree butane flame in there and suck it up.
Yeah.
It's then you have to let it sit, or suffer through all that char.
Yeah. And it might never recover, to be honest with you.
Excuse me. It could also cause issues moving forward throughout smoking the cigar, where you find yourself in situations where it starts to tunnel or canoe. As you're lighting it, sometimes I'm not even lighting it, as you're torching it to hell,
Right.
you don't even notice one side is more lit than the other, whatever it is, And next thing you know, you're canoeing, you're tunneling because the cigar has gotten too hot, way too hot. As well as, for me, if I'm really enjoying a cigar, I don't know about the rest of the audience, but if I'm really enjoying a cigar, I'm going to be puffing that bad boy. Now, the problem with that is then it overheats. And if I already torched it to hell, on top of it overheating, I'm going to find myself not really liking that cigar and then questioning as to why I don't like that cigar. And then I put the cigar down and never pick it up again.
Right. You get that scorch. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is,
tastes like scorch.
Yeah. Which can be a problem, with not being conscious of, toasting your cigar prior to lighting it for any new cigar you light. Because that bad taste you don't like may not be the cigar's fault whatsoever.
Yeah, and we've just found, Nick and I have found that when we stack a lot of little disciplines together, it's like an exponential effect on the enjoyment, right? So, we talk about clipping with authority, but it's a real thing. Like, have a sharp cutter, clip it with authority. Don't squeeze it until the fucking wrapper pops, and then you've got that little flap or something that you're constantly tonguing the rest of the time you're trying to smoke the cigar. Use the some method, like we turn the cigar vertical with the clipped end down and tap it on the back of our hand to get all the loose tobacco. That way you're not like doing that thing where you stick your thumb in your mouth and scrape your tongue, And then the gentle toast that just warms the tobacco up into a cherry. Put all those three things together, and the cigar smoking experience is much, much better.
But like, think of how, like, even those 3 steps, how wrong it can go. Right.
Sure,
so you have a cracked cap. Mm-hmm. You're getting tobacco bits in your mouth, and you're, you got a burn mark. Half an inch up one side, the other side's not lit. Your cigar's over at that point. You're not gonna what?
Right.
You're done.
Yeah, I still think I think the worst thing that can happen is a tunnel. Like, most of the other stuff I can recover from or come really close to. But when a cigar starts tunneling, I kill it. Like, if I got a tunnel in the first inch or two of a 6-inch cigar, I'll actually slide an open cutter down from the cap side and cut the cigar off and start over. But other than that, I can't save it.
Can you tell us what tunneling is and what canoeing is?
Yeah. So tunneling is literally a tunnel in the cigar that goes from front to back, from your mouth to the end of the cigar. It doesn't necessarily go that far. So if you're familiar with a Swedish fire or something like that, where you tunnel a hole in a log and light that, basically the draw of the air going through it heats it up super hot. So when you have a tunnel, you've got a super hot section of tobacco, and it's not the cross section. The flavor of the cigar is the wrapper and the binder and the filler. The tunnel is typically in the filler. So you have shitty tasting tobacco that's burning super hot. You can literally burn your tongue from it, and unless you can find the end of the tunnel and clip it, behind it, you pretty much lost the cigar at that point.
That was super confusing. The tunneling is when the filler's burning but the wrapper's not, right?
No, Nick, you are so full of shit. It's a tunnel in the cigar.
No. Tunneling is when the filler's burning but the wrapper's not.
No, it's smaller than that.
What's smaller than that?
The tunnel is always smaller than that. It's literally impossible for you to burn the filler and not the wrapper. It's a tunnel in the filler. Think if you took a crochet hook and jammed it in the end of your cigar.
I'm calling Marvin Shankin right now, and we're gonna ask him.
I am calling BS on this whole conversation.
All
right, so I'm pretty sure that this is a cigar podcast. So why don't we talk about the cigars that we're smoking? I'm sure doggone Sean would like us to.
That's what I've been dreaming for. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, so I am. It's just when the whole cigar is burning, except the wrapper.
It's
hanging off like a limp condom.
That's just not
So
possible.
anyway, I'm smoking the 10 años, the 10-year. And it is so named because of the 10-year aged San Andres Maduro wrapper. And I'll say the draw's a little tight for me. Kind of my typical thing with these smaller ring gauge box press. It'll probably open up. That's fairly normal for this size. But I'm just in the first 3/8 of an inch right now. And what am I tasting right now? So the carrier note is definitely cedar. Got a strong cedar. I've got, I think, oak and leather. And there's definitely a sweetness in there that I can't quite peg down. But it's kind of like if I took an oak plank and I waved it over a pan of simple syrup that I was making on the stovetop. And then I took that and I spanked it with a leather belt. And then I walked through the room while all that was going on. That's kind of what I'm experiencing.
That is the most perfect explanation I think I've ever heard someone say for a Diez Años, because I felt that.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that to be truth.
Well, I like the strength, so I wouldn't call this a punch you in the back of the throat strength, but it is strong. It's got that mellow smoothness that comes with a really well aged Maduro wrapper. Where it's
right.
The flavor is so punchy because all of the extra shit is gone, with the aging.
Right.
But it's also smoothed out. Just like, when you age a whiskey for a long time.
Yeah.
It condenses the flavor, but it's mellower at the same time.
Yeah. So that's exactly, pretty much in a nutshell what Esteban Carreras is about. It's about creating a, as full flavor as you can really be without getting a lot of that punch. We want to make a cigar that's enjoyable, tastes great, and you don't necessarily need the strength. Now, naturally, that's what occurs. You're going to have a lot of medium body, a lot of medium plus or whatnot, but our goal isn't to, make you green in the face, And I'm really glad you're enjoying that 10 Años. That is one of my favorites.
Yeah, this is really good. The flavors are complex. They play well together. I'm enjoying it. And Nick, tell us a little bit about your cigar.
So this one, it.
Jesus Christ, I'm not even going to cut that out of the show. I want everyone to know how I suffer every week.
You poor thing.
Need to get you a cough button. Go ahead.
This Esteban Carreras Devil's Hand Dark Corojo limited edition Maduro Toro is it's surprisingly light for a Maduro. Definitely very smooth with the wrapper and the fillers. Like the point of this, I think, like you just alluded to, is not to wreck you with this cigar. This is not the cigar that you go for when you're looking for a big bomb. It's very nuanced and it's very mellow. Straight medium, not even close to full.
And what kind of flavor notes are you picking up there, Nick?
There's 100% sweetness going on, but there's also like some root earth. I'm definitely getting a lot of like root earthiness to it as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, you guys cannot see the video in our audio only production, but Nick is wearing a pink horizontal pinstripe Gulf polo with a Kenworth 100 trucker cap. So he looks sharp today.
Very presentable. I'm jealous.
It's Barbie weekend.
It's Barbie weekend.
Barbie and Oppenheimer.
And I'm wearing my Oppenheimer outfit. So I've got my French cuff shirt with my platinum cufflinks. I'm only wearing 3 rings today, including my wedding band. And I have my Carrera GT timepiece, no bracelet. With Esteban Carreras.
This is your Johnny second place outfit.
Yeah, I'm wearing silver tones today.
Yeah.
So something went wrong. I touched my jewelry and it did not turn to gold.
Wow.
So
You lose the name.
I lose the name.
And
All
I'm-
right, doggone Sean. Tell me about this covenant.
Great. So this covenant, fantastic. Though everything with Esteban Carreras is fantastic. It's just fantastic in its own different ways. But with the covenant here, what I like about this are the flavor notes I get out of it, right? So as I smoke this cigar, I get more notes akin to what I get from Dominican tobacco, right? You get rich, robust, dark chocolate, black coffee. That's what I have always got from Dominican cigars. And with Nicaraguan cigars, generally, you get that naturally sweetness, right? But with this covenant, it's the exception. It's like because it's a Nicaraguan cigar, but it tastes to me like a Dominican cigar tastes. So it kind of blows my mind, and that's due to the Ometepe Ligero in the filler. So, for those that don't know, the Ometepe comes from Lake Nicaragua. It's Ometepe tobacco on Lake Nicaragua, the volcanic islands of Lake Nicaragua. And I believe that has everything to do with it, as you have that rich volcanic ash mixing it with the soil, causing, allowing for great nutrients in the soil, to really enhance that flavor profile in the cigar. It's a very it's a very good experience. I mean, right now, I'm getting more my apologies. I'm getting more sweetness out of my black coffee from Starbucks over this covenant. Like the sweet dominant is whatever is in this black coffee, which is nothing but black coffee, right? So to give you a little note by note breakdown, right? So I'm getting like 100% cocoa dark chocolate with a finish of black coffee, right? Rich, robust. On the retrohale, I'm getting an oak, but it is so smooth. No pepper.
That's kind of interesting for a Nicaraguan
I know.
cigar, right?
I know. That's what makes it very interesting, right? Because it doesn't have that pop that Nicaraguan cigars usually have, where you get that pepper, you get a little bit of that spice, especially on the retrohale, right? Mm-hmm. And this is just smooth. It kind of reminds me of our Mr. Brownstone Maduro with the Connecticut broadleaf Maduro. But yeah, I mean, so far in this first third here, I'm really enjoying it, as I always do.
So the Ometepe is interesting because, this is kind of a famous grower's trick. So, like Armenian brandy, among brandy connoisseurs, is usually preferred over cognac because of the volcanic mountain soil that the grapes are grown in. Produces a very robust, some would say more rustic flavor than you get out of cognac. And in fact, it's so good that during the Cold War, Joseph Stalin used to ship over a train car of Armenian brandy to Winston Churchill every year. Armenia was behind the Iron Curtain back then. But if anybody knew his vices, it was definitely Churchill. So stamp of approval right there. And then Ligero. So for our listeners out there, we did have an episode with parts of the tobacco plant. I think it was episode number 2 or 3. And there is no missing episode 1. That is still a surprise out there for everybody. So you can listen to that. And, of course, that's the top of the plant where those leaves are harvested. And do you know anything about the harvesting process for these cigars? Are they leaving the Ligero on the stalk longer? Or are they doing stalk cut? Do you know how that looks?
That's a great question that I cannot answer at this time.
I'm sure they're leaving them on the stalk. That's kind of more traditional. Some of this, we have some new methods nowadays that I think are more branding than anything else. I think stalk cut is branding to me. That doesn't improve anything. It's a cheaper way to harvest, that's for sure. And then the whole we cut the flowers off, or we left the flowers on. Well, I mean, in theory, leaving the flowers on, you're going to get a pretty different taste because that's like the sex organ of the plant, and they start producing hormones, But I still think it's more marketing than anything else, to be honest with you. But the traditional method, you harvest from the bottom, and the upper primings, stay on longer, get nice and leathery, wrap around that stalk, look delicious, and then you make a cigar out of them. And in this case, 10 years later, right? So on that note, it is time for our tobacconist tit of the week.
Jesus, man.
And here's your chief tit, Nicholas McCann.
So before the show, I said, hey, John, we're not doing any segments today, right? And he said, no segments. So,
all right. So there's no segments.
I can't. Sometimes when I think for really hard for 10 minutes, I can't even come up with one. So asking me to come up with one off the cuff is really pressure. That's tough.
No, this was tobacconist tit of the week.
Okay.
And that's Nick.
Here it is.
That's it.
Yep.
He's right here.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
So on that note, enough fucking around, guys. Jesus, we have an actual audience out there. But why don't we talk about Esteban Carreras cigars for our audience members out there? Sean, why don't you share a little bit about the history of the company?
I want to know. I want to know who is Esteban Carreras.
Who is Esteban Carreras? Yeah, sounds like a mystery show.
So, to my knowledge, Esteban Carreras was a freedom fighter in Cuba. allegedly. I'm not 100% sure if he was real or kind of someone to give people faith, right? Someone who would go around and help
Johnny
people that
Appleseed.
were suffering. Yeah, Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I don't under. I don't. I'm not fully sure on why it was named Esteban Carreras, but I do think that's interesting. How our creator of this brand didn't choose his name or something or whatever. It was like we're gonna pick a freedom fighter who was either metaphorically real or physically real, who gave hope to the people that suffered during Castro's dictatorship. And I think that's awesome. I think that's really cool. When you say Esteban Carreras, you don't expect it to be something as great as a freedom fighter or someone who helped others out in their darkest moments. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they were going to name it the Castro, but that was taken already. So they got Esteban Carreras. All right, and the factory is in Esteli, is that correct?
Yeah.
And Tabacaleras Carreras, which, they're all named Tabacaleras because that's what they are. The corporate offices are in California, is that right? In the United States?
So we're shifting over to Tennessee.
All right, on.
I'm not sure. I believe there's still some activity in California, but we're slowly moving out to Tennessee as regards to our HQ.
Shout out to states that know how to manage and are getting all the business. The great shift, right? All right, so here's what I found interesting. Sean, I'll repeat this. I think our listeners know, but I traveled for work for some time and have had the privilege of smoking in cigar lounges across, probably a dozen states or so, and form some good relationships and also get a feel for what cigars are present in different areas. And Carreras has a pretty universal footprint. So the farthest west I've been is like Minnesota. Also the farthest north I've been. So mostly like the eastern half of the U.S. But Carreras is pretty much in all of the cigar shops that I've been in. But I guess people don't know as much about Carreras, right? Like I'll be in conversations and they'll tell me stories about AJ Fernandez and they'll tell me stories about Fuente and the other Fuente or Perdomo or the other Perdomo or the other Perdomo, or my father, like all of those guys. But when it comes to Carreras, and even on the website, there's not much about him, right? So give us some juicy inside tidbits that nobody else knows about that's listening to this show.
We've been around for, I believe, 17 or 18 years, which is pretty wild. We put all of our focus on the quality of the cigars. That's just what we do. We focus on the quality to make the cigars, the best smoking experience for the customer, for the end consumer, really. The best smoking experience without, breaking the bank.
And Nick, you're a tobacconist. From your perspective, would you still consider Esteban Carreras to be a boutique cigar brand?
That is just an awful question,
right?
To ask. We need a top 10 great debates in the cigar industry.
Yeah, what constitutes boutique?
Yeah, that's 100% a question that's tough to answer. Because Esteban has a pretty lengthy portfolio.
Right.
They have generally, Sean, I'm going to say you have 10 to 15 different blends, maybe more. A little bit, yeah, more than 15 blends.
Oh.
So when I think of boutique, right, it's like Stolen Throne, right? These guys have 3-4 blends. But Esteban, been in the game for almost 20 years now. But it's like, all right, how many cigars do you make a year, right? That's another thing that I consider when I'm being told through my headset right now that Esteban Carreras sells 4 million cigars a year, which is great. I do think that's boutique side. I think so. Right?
Yeah, it's a fuzzy line.
It's more like an established boutique.
Yeah, it's a
Been around for 17, 18 years, right? So
yeah. I think honestly, I'm just gonna shift the metric to how many Instagram followers do they have, and if they have less than a certain amount of Instagram followers, they're boutique, and if they have more, then they're not boutique. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, I mean it's a fuzzy line. I think it's fair to call them a boutique brand. I mean, it's just we had that whole episode on like the structure of the industry, and it's like, oh, this brand is owned by this company, which is owned by, and ultimately you get up to like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like even Altadis has a parent company. It's like,
Yeah.
fuck, I thought Altadis was like, a big player. Well, they are, but they're part of an even bigger player. So
Owned by the United Nations.
yes, exactly. Like, oh, half their revenue comes from Dubai.
Right,
It's
right.
like, fuck. So I'll give some inside baseball to everybody. The factory in Esteli is run by Gonzalo Puentes, and he actually worked for the Ministry of Agriculture in Cuba. So that's a little inside baseball for people that want to know.
Is Gonzalo the master blender?
dude, he is. He's awesome.
Sean had the opportunity to take a trip down to Esteli and visit Tabacalera Carreras. You want to tell us about that trip, man? That was pretty recent, right?
So let me tell you about Gonzalo, right? He has learned so much about tobacco in his life that he has forgot more tobacco than any of us will ever learn about tobacco.
Nice.
It is the most mind-blowing thing to think about. I'll tell you that right now. He's also the kindest person I've ever met in my life. And the most patient person. He's fantastic. And he makes really good cigars. I mean, really.
Yeah, and basically the story of Puentes was, as the Minister of Agriculture, basically he was tasked by the regime with developing like improved Corojo seeds, and so this was pre-hybridization and lab seeds, and so, or I should say, GMO hybridization. You can hybridize through selective breeding, which is what they did. So they were supposed to take like the 5 strongest plants and breed them, and then do that again, and then do that again, and develop this. And what they did was instead of giving those best seeds to the Cuban government, they actually smuggled them out and grew them in Ecuador and Nicaragua.
And that's the story of the devil's hand.
And that's the story of the devil's hand. I guess the only other inside baseball that I have to offer everybody is that Craig Cunningham is the owner. So now you know a name. That is a very Anglo name for a very Mesoamerican cigar.
Lord Cunningham.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Lord Cunningham is the owner.
Yeah.
But we have we have someone that actually knows what he's doing,
Right.
to do the blends from the factory.
His name's Gonzalo.
Yeah, Craig, I apologize. That's totally unfair. But anyway, so that's the owner and the master blender and the guy that runs the factory. So now you know a little bit about Esteban Carreras. So hope that was helpful for folks.
So Sean, you went down. You have been busy traveling recently. I know you do a lot of traveling in your territory, but you've been out west to Vegas at PCA, and also to Esteli in the past 4 months. So tell us. You told me a story last night about rolling last night. You learned how to roll cigars in the factory in Esteli. Can you tell me about what happened there?
Sure. So, and I'll tell you, it's a prime example of you don't know how difficult something is until you do it yourself, right? With cigars, rolling cigars, I was like, yeah, it's difficult. I've seen people do it, but I mean, they move fast, so how hard can it be? So I'm like, I asked the big boss. I'm like, hey, can I ask Gonzalo to teach me how to make a cigar? He's like, yeah, sure, go over there. I'm like, okay, cool. So, and they set me up with two of the head honchos of the of our factory. And I sit down, and there was a huge language barrier, as I don't know much Spanish, and they don't know much English. But they have so much knowledge to share, and I have no idea what I was doing. So I was able to produce, working so hard, but I can't even say I produced them because I was helped so heavily. It was 8 cigars in like 3.5 hours, right? And I was confident about it. I was feeling good. I'm like, yeah, dude, look, I did my own cigars, man. It didn't take too long, probably. I'm probably on par with these guys, maybe. No, man, no. These guys, no, they make 8 hours, 400, 500 cigars. I was getting laughed at because I'm like, what is going on? What am I doing? And I'm trying, and they're trying to help me. So, and again, those guys, they were patient, so patient and so kind. When you have this man who is just oblivious to anything, right? I looked like I wasn't even listening to what they were saying due to language barrier, but they were just so patient. They were so kind, and they pretty much, essentially how I like to think of it, I didn't roll 8 cigars. They did with my hands. So it was now, you find a newfound respect. I respected rollers before, don't get me wrong. I understood it was difficult. I just thought I could catch on easier and quicker. No. That is a skill. That's a skill that you learn through rinse and repeat. You really got to work hard with that to get that down.
Yeah, because a lot of the guys down there, they've been rolling since 10, 8, 9.
Right.
Yeah, I know a couple folks that have grown up in tobacco growing regions. They're like, yeah, I picked my first plant at 7 years old.
Yeah.
All right, man. That's really cool. I smoked my first cigar at like 21.
Right.
Yeah. And they're like, dude, I was born with a cigar in my hand.
I got nicotine poisoning at age 3.
Yeah.
Harvesting plants. Yeah.
But I survived it.
And unknown to Sean, we actually had a guy down there recording all of this, and we wanted to share with you some of the audio from Sean's experience down there in Nicaragua.
Burnline exclusive, I think.
Buenos días. Me llamo Gonzalo.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
¿Estás bien?
Viva la chalupa.
And that is all the audio that we were able to capture from Sean's time down there. It sounds like you were fitting right in with the Spanish.
All the Taco Bell and chalupa stuff was Sean said it, right?
Oh yeah.
And
That was the Sean side.
And Gonzalo was trying to teach him.
Yeah.
Well, I told you I don't know Spanish that well.
I don't know. That it sounded like you had it mastered right there. I'll tell you what, man.
Well,
I'm pretty impressed.
there's some muffed explanation. muffed.
It doesn't
syllables.
translate right. Yeah.
It doesn't translate right. I may be compared to that of a gringo.
You were
with my
taken out of
Spanish.
context. Yeah, we definitely have a gringo in the studio, according to Angel.
All right, anyway. So speaking of Sean asking for Taco Bell, I heard an awesome story about Sean about a week ago from someone else that I'm not going to name. And Sean took a trip out to Vegas with the company, with Esteban, for PCA. And it's in Vegas, man. Sin City. You got Gordon Ramsay has a restaurant there. Wolfgang Puck has a restaurant there.
What happens in Vegas stays on Burnline Podcast? Is that
Happened,
where we're going with this?
Yeah, what happened? No. And the story goes that Sean's coworkers at Esteban said, "Hey, Sean, we're going to go out later to dinner. What are you interested in? What kind of food do you like? What do you want to eat?" And allegedly, Sean replied, "I want a ham sandwich."
How many beers in were we at that point?
I think this was like 11 a.m. maybe on the trade show floor.
Nice.
And they said, no, man, come on. Like, we're going to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant tonight, man. Like, what do you want? What are you thinking about getting? And he doubled down. He said, I want a ham sandwich and American cheese. And so this is the legend began of this is the ham sandwich rep now.
And Gordon Ramsay made him a ham sandwich by hand.
Yeah.
At the table.
Hand rolled. He brought the ham out. He carved it.
It was an Ibera.
First, I want to say Nick is a liar. He's a punk-faced liar. That is not true
liar.
at all.
Wow.
I only eat the most luxurious things.
Well, you'll fit right in with this crowd then.
Most luxurious. No, I'm just kidding. He's completely right. He's not a punk-faced liar.
That's fucking awesome. You know, and meanwhile, like back in the kitchen, they're like, finally, someone that's not a pretentious asshole. This just wants a ham sandwich.
I just want a ham and cheese, please. Sir, we don't have that. You could find one.
How hard is it? This is just a cured pig and some fermented milk.
All it is. I just need some Hillshire Farms cold cuts right now. That's it.
We've been sitting on this boar's head order for 3 years.
Right.
Damn it.
It's not rocket science.
It's just a ham sandwich, guys.
So okay. This is my take, right? And we can mix this up with cigars too, right? You know? You like what you know what you like.
Right.
You know, it's something simple. You know, it's like a daily cigar. It's like a great daily cigar, like, I don't know, like a Esteban Carreras Chupacabra Maduro. Or an Esteban Carreras Diez Años, even. You know, it's just one of those things that you can never go wrong with, whether it's Hillshire Farms or Boar's Head or Gordon Ramsay, you know, cut from his own hand, just torn perfectly into perfectly sliced pieces of ham. You know, it's one of those, you can never get it wrong. You know, now sometimes when you get peanut butter and jelly, you can get that wrong. Or
why did you look at Nick when you said that? I feel like there's a story here. Yeah, you know, the beauty of this hobby is it is so personal. You know, it's based on your individual palate and you know what you like. On the other hand, though, nobody's going to eat a shit sandwich, right? Just like nobody would daily in acid.
No.
Got my weekly licking on acids.
Yeah. Well, Hawaiian Breeze. Esteban Carreras actually makes an acid. I'd call it a competitor, acid competitor for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
the Hawaiian Breeze.
Hawaiian Breeze are very popular here.
They are popular.
Union Cigar. They have latte, cognac, vanilla, and Purple Haze, which is honestly, that one's the bestseller. Purple Haze is the bestseller. It's supposed to be the groovy blue of, that's how they were described to me. Tatiana makes a cigar called Groovy Blue, and Purple Haze is supposed to be the groovy blue of Hawaiian Breeze. Have you heard this before?
Well, now you have. Now everyone has. It's out there in the world. Something that no one else should know. God, what is wrong with you, Nick? Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's not hard to
put a muffler on it. God. I'm looking at our stats right now. We have 17.5 million listeners in 278 countries.
Great, Nick. Great.
Looks like 2 people tuned in from Antarctica last month.
That is fantastic.
And you're listening to Burnline Podcast, uncommon cigar knowledge for the common cigar smoker. And if you are in Antarctica listening to us, we are raising a nice warm cigar.
Stay warm.
Stay
warm, away from
friends.
the bears. Don't try to pet them.
Yeah.
So,
well, that should be easy because the bears are on the other side of the world. So
what?
Yeah, like
Alaska? You're saying people or wait? Did you say?
Yeah, like
did I mishear you? Did you say Antarctica? There's
Antarctica.
2 listeners in Antarctica.
Yeah, it's a continent. Like there's land there. The Arctic doesn't have land or penguins.
But you know what? There's polar bears.
Bears on the top, penguins on the bottom.
Allegedly.
Yeah, I mean, you never know with these conspiracies nowadays.
You never know.
You know, like, what is the establishment telling us? I mean, I'll bet you if you actually go to Antarctica, there's even palm trees and stuff.
It's a wall. It's an ice wall.
Yeah, there's this
allegedly.
big ice wall.
And then the rest, that's where Atlantis is beyond the wall. That's where
The undead walkers are.
the undead walkers are behind the wall. So you got to keep the wall, they have the watchmen that they send over there instead of spending life sentences. Yeah, the watchmen. It's great. But
Meanwhile,
I digress.
back in
Hawaiian
Cigar
Breeze,
Land.
which it's a polar opposite to Antarctica. It's a nice Hawaiian
No,
breeze.
the Arctic is the polar opposite of Antarctica. We talked about this.
Oh, my Lanta. I digress. Hawaiian Breeze.
All right, so Hawaiian Breeze, a nice
Hawaiian
flavored
Breeze.
cigar for people who like flavored cigars.
But what's great, too, with the Hawaiian Breeze, right? Again, this is why I enjoy working for this company, because I like everything that they make, which is difficult to find, at least for me, right? So with the Hawaiian Breeze, what's interesting with that, it's not just a flavored cigar. While as you're smoking it, you just get the flavors of that flavored cigar. Whatever it's meant to taste, that's what you taste, right? With the Hawaiian Breeze, again, it's a premium cigar. We use high-quality tobacco to produce those with medium filler rather than short filler. And I actually get regular cigar notes with a hint of the flavor of that of which it's called.
Like the flavor is being carried to you on a Hawaiian Breeze.
That's the most
I should work for marketing.
beautiful thing I've ever heard in my life.
So why don't we touch back on these cigars as we start to wrap up the show? And I am in the last third. I probably have an inch and 5/8 left on my Diez Años.
Why don't you measure it?
No, I'll burn the card tabletop if I try that. There's a little bit of pepper, like that's picked up. It's gotten a little hotter. Other than that, the flavor notes are carrying through. Again, a really nice mixture of some of your like earth wood, that kind of like strong masculine cigar with sweetness on top of it. Really enjoying it, and I think the sweetness is interacting with the pepper to kind of have a cinnamon type of note to it, or maybe cinnamon red hots. So interesting smoke and quite delicious. Have enjoyed it so far. Nick, why don't you tell us about your cigar?
So I'm gonna say halfway through, and it's progressed. The flavors have progressed to more of a smoky campfire with that hint of sweetness that I was talking about at the beginning, and still that earth root. So barnyard, burning wood, smokiness, and a little bit of sweetness too, but still medium, really solid medium, but for a Maduro.
And what cigar are you smoking?
Esteban Carreras, Devil's Hand.
Whole thing, nice and slow and dramatic.
Esteban Carreras, Devil's Hand, Dark Corojo Maduro, limited edition Toro.
All right, that was a mouthful. And doggone Sean, tell us about your cigar.
So, this Covenant, right? On the retrohale, I get pepper, like a cayenne pepper, but it finishes sweet. And then on the palate, I get more of a spice, not as potent as a pepper, more mellow. The wood's still there. The chocolate is still there. I'd say it's more of a milk chocolate-esque, as you have that creamy sweetness to it, but it's still chocolatey, right? It still has that distinctive note, as well as the coffee. The coffee isn't as prominently strong. But all in all, I am very much enjoying this.
All right. So those are the 3 Esteban Carreras cigars that we're smoking on this episode. And we encourage all of our listeners, if you're not familiar with the Esteban Carreras line, to go out there and grab you a stick or two, see if it fits into your wheelhouse and palate. Again, there's a pretty broad range here. So we've got a whole bunch of cigars sitting on the table. I shot some of those pictures out to the Grahams. Be sure to follow us on social media, Twitter, Threads, Instagram, at Burnline Podcast. And, as we said, we've got Connecticut's, we've got Maduros, there's the Hawaiian Breeze if you like infused cigars. So quite a bit of options to choose from. So pick you out a stick or two, see if that works in your regular rotation. Let us know what you think and drop us a line at burnlinepodcast@gmail.com and let us know what you think. And we will share your comments on the show if you want us to. If you don't, let us know. So, Nick.
What?
As a certified retail tobacconist,
Yeah.
Tell us about the sales side of Esteban Carreras. Where does this fit in your portfolio and kind of sales model?
Interesting. So Esteban is a really solid cigar that you've probably never heard of. A lot of the guys that come in asking for Romeo, Ashton, Oliva, Drew Estate, right? Kind of Esteban flies under the radar for them. And so Esteban is my go-to a lot of the time when they say, oh, I like so-and-so Undercrown.
Right.
But I want to try something new, something that I've never had before. And a lot of people, in my experience, have never had Esteban Carreras cigars.
And I think it's an approachable price point, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think this most recent one, the one that I'm smoking right now, the Devil's Hand Maduro, is the most pricey and the newest one. But they have stuff, around the $7-8 price point for a 660.
Right.
And they have, the Wrecking Ball's a 680. They have 680 for 11 and a quarter. So if you like the big gauge, Esteban's also a really good company for that. They make a lot of really good big gauge cigars.
Well, the other thing, too, and I think what strays people away is honestly when you see the lower price. I think from a consumer's perspective, when I would be looking at cigars, I look for the price point. If I see a cigar that I really like, and this may just be me, I may just be a little weirdo, but when I'm looking at cigars and I like a specific cigar and I know the price point of that specific cigar, I go and think, okay, so anything below that is going to be lower quality. So I avoid cigars that may be lower in price.
Yeah, I don't think that makes you a weirdo. Like, I think that's like they teach this in marketing school, right? So, there's a real thing. Like, you take a BMW 2 Series Gran Turismo, and like it's a front wheel drive, Volkswagen that's a little less reliable, but they charge $15,000 more for it, and people think it's better, right? So it's a real marketing scheme, right?
That's true. So, like with the Esteban Carreras stuff, it's just one of those things that you try it once, and so long as it fits your flavor, your palate from things you enjoy, which Nick can definitely point you in the right direction to. If you come to the Union store or the Hanover store, the Gettysburg store, they have great selection, and you'll easily get any rotation. Like I said, in the consumer's perspective, as I'm walking around stores, if I see something lower than what I'm used to, I think immediately it's going to be a lower quality product. But working for this company, I've learned that is not true, and that actually helps my my consumer habits now. Because when I'm out and about, if I see something like a cigar that may be lower than a price point I'm used to or whatever it is, I check it out, and I like it.
Yeah, and of course at Burnline, we're constantly talking about value. In fact, that's one of the metrics we rate cigars on. And I would say the Carreras line is a pretty good value. You get a good amount of good tobacco for the price. And we've got, like I said, a selection on the table. We've got pricings on here from $8.50 to $10.50 to, $13 or so for the bad boy? $12.50, yeah.
$12.50, that's great.
Yeah, so very approachable. Contrast that with the numero uno, at $18.75. So pretty good approachable price point if folks are looking to try something new and branch out. I think it's a great option that it's not. If I see a $25 cigar, I mean, honestly, like I've got a budget for that. You know, I'm not just picking that up on a whim. Sometimes I do because I'm a dumbass, but most of the time, you know, there's some hesitation. Instead of a $10 cigar, where I'm just going to try it today. You know, and so pick one up. You might like it, and I think that is about it. Sean Quay from Esteban Carreras. Thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I very much appreciate it.
For all of you guys out there in the interwebs, this is Johnny Midas, Nick the Brick, and Sean Quay signing off for Burnline Podcast. See you again next week.